So welcome everyone. This is obviously an interesting time for everyone. I'm sure many of you have taken time out of your day from trying to reorganize your learning and teaching and assessment to be here. And that's also part of the reason why we've got a streamlined program today. So a lot of the presenters who were accepted into the conference will eventually do their presentation, but they've opted to do it by recording it at some point slightly later in the summer, when it's a bit easier for them to fit it in. And so what we've got now is today as our main day for the conference, and the 10th of June was originally scheduled to be a half-day symposium, and we still plan to do that, but it'll be in the same format as this because we just can't predict what the situation with everybody getting together on campus again will be by then. And then over the summer, we'll collect in the recordings from everyone who isn't featured here today and publicize those as a bank of recordings, probably sometime around the end of August. So that'll be when everyone's theoretically back at work after the summer holidays are finished, and anyone who's got families to take on holiday to the back garden will hopefully have been able to send their kids back to school, but before semester starts again. As you can see, Matthew, who is the director of Leeds, and I are the co-hosts for this. So I'm Scott.
Hello.
Never met me before. I'm the good practice advisor, and I do things like pulling together the program for this and for the CPD series that Leeds offers. Matthew, you said hello there. Would you like to say anything else? I realize that I don't.
The only thing I will say is if you see me on my phone, looking down at my phone, I'm not ignoring what's going on and ignoring you. I'm managing the Twitter. I'm looking at the Twitter feed as well as trying to engage on here. So that's the issue. The chat seems to be working again now. Scott, did you switch it back on?
I have changed. So for those of you who might have just joined in the last few seconds, we had a few people who definitely should not have been here doing things that they should not have been doing in here. So we switched the chat so that it can only go direct to panelists. People maybe have gotten a bit bored of trying and have left already. So are you feeling brave, Matthew? Shall I change things back so that everyone can talk to each other during the presentations?
I have pruned the participants list, although there's lots of people joined since then, and some of the people who had bombed us before are back. What I can't do is ban anybody for any length of time. I have to keep on top of it. Okay. I wouldn't if I were you, but I can try and keep an eye on things. Okay.
Well, I realize that with webinar mode in Zoom, it has the potential to kind of cut you off from your other participants there. I can tell you that there seem to be about 100 of you in the room, so that's a fantastic show. So thanks very much for joining us this morning. And the way that this will work is that our presenters will join the room, and when it comes time for them to do their presentation, we'll turn them into panelists. You'll be able to start seeing their videos and hear their audio streams. Matthew and I will disappear and just let the presentations run. And during the presentations, if you think of any questions that you'd like to ask, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, have a look in the button of options at the bottom or the top of your Zoom interface, depending on what device you're on, and there's a Q&A option there. The panelists or the presenters will then be able to see those and pick them out for answering later. They can take questions that you think of during the 10 minutes of the talks as well. So whenever you'd like to send something in, if you can do it through the Q&A function, that would be fantastic. So in the morning, we've got a program that's built primarily of people who were accepted into the conference as it was before the coronavirus situation developed. And then in the afternoon, we've gone for a program that's a bit more focused on the pivot to online. So we've got some CPD type sessions on how to use Zoom for your teaching, how to record sessions using the media recording option, which is something that's inbuilt with Zoom. And Joanne Murray is going to do a presentation on the 7 pedagogical principles of teaching online. So that's the way that we've divided the program today. But I think those cover all of the things that I wanted to say. If you have any questions about how the day will run, please drop them through to us. If you do put them into the chat, then we on this end can see that, and I'll make sure to answer those questions after Moira's welcome talk. But Moira unfortunately can't be with us in person today. She, as you can imagine, with the the rush to change so many things about the way the university works at the moment, is massively busy with those types of meetings. But she has recorded a welcome address for us. So I'm going to change and share my screen. And what we found is that when we're showing pre-recorded videos over Zoom, because you as participants are sort of 2 steps removed from the original file, the audio quality may suffer a bit. So if that happens, just jump quickly over to the Learning and Teaching Conference webpage, so gle.ac.uk/LT conference, and it's also embedded in there. And then you can pop back over here when once you've watched it. But let's just give this, let's get this going through Zoom.
Good morning and welcome to the 13th Annual Learning and Teaching Conference at the University of Glasgow. My name is Fischbacher-Smith, and the first thing to say is that I'm really sorry I'm not able to join you today. This is the first time that I've not been able to attend this conference in 13 years, and were it not for the current coronavirus situation, I would be broadcasting this live. So our 13th Annual Learning and Teaching Conference is not like any Annual Learning and Teaching Conference that we've held before. So normally there would be between 300 and 400 people in the Butte Hall, and it's a day that we all look forward to. We see this building that's on the screen just now, and it's an environment where we are busy networking, the atmosphere is good, we casually bump into people that we've been meaning to speak to for a while. It's an event that's characterised by noise, by interaction, by putting faces to names and names to faces, and creating a sense of community. It's also really important for us in terms of sharing practice and asking questions spontaneously when you visit stands and exhibitions and bump into people. On days when the weather is good, we are particularly aware of the physical sense of space and place as we sit outside and admire the cloisters and breathe in the atmosphere that our amazing buildings generate. But of course, what you're seeing more and more is that we're meeting online. That's our new normal, and it's a reflection of an experience that we've come to adjust to very rapidly over the last few days and weeks. Anyone who didn't know what Zoom was before is certainly in no doubt now as to what it is. Even my dogs know what Zoom is, I think, and are enjoying it, joining in some of the Zoom calls at home, as you can see from this image. So on the left-hand side, we have some of our comms teams who tweeted pictures of their meetings. And on the right-hand side of the screen, me and my dog Ruby. She wasn't actually invited, but was made very welcome at joining a meeting where we had some people in a room together and others of us joining remotely. So the online environment at work for most of us has become pretty much all-consuming. So really, I could just have made this talk all about Pivot Online, one of the most popular hashtags that we're seeing on Twitter, or coronavirus, and obviously the relationship between the two. And I could argue that this is the start of a transformation and that higher education will never be the same again. And of course, that may well be true. There's a huge amount of discussion online and across the sector about how things are going to change. One view, however, is that we might just bounce back to our previous state, as so many systems do after a shock. Another view is that the sector globally will adapt and the whole system landscape will change in ways that forever shift higher education. Whatever the degree of change and however much speculation there continues to be about the many potential changes that may emerge from this, my own view is that there will be sustained changes, including changing patterns of travel to study, greater respect for the value of online education, and certainly an increase in the skills level of academic staff. I'd like to just take the opportunity for just a few minutes in this session note and in this, what's essentially just an introduction to the conference, to reflect briefly on what we've witnessed in the last few weeks here at Glasgow and what I see as a priority for us to build on as a basis for the future. What you see in the screen in front of you is very tangible indication of collaboration. So this is taken from the Creative Commons website, which you'll be familiar with, I'm sure. They have a section which is about the response to COVID-19. And this is just a screenshot of some of the resources that have been shared and developed collaboratively. So collaboration is one of my first themes. I have seen collaboration at speed. Large higher education institutions, not always known for rapid, speedy responses, but my goodness, how we've moved at speed. And that's largely because of the collaboration that's often started from face-to-face relationships, but has quickly built online. for us, a lot of that's also been about relationships that we've been building while we've been developing our physical campus, and I'll return to that in a minute or two. But actually the close working relationship that the academic community has developed with IT, with the library, with our learning technologists across the institution, with academics across the institution, and with colleagues in estates and buildings has actually put us in really good stead for responding to this particular situation. And of course, we've also been working together and collaborating to create resources, and that's been a huge part of what we've done. We could not support staff the way that we're trying to do with our dedicated resources had we not collaborated very quickly from the start, once we knew that it looked like we were going to have to change how we operated as a university. And we've created those resources pretty much all virtually in our teams and in our teams within Microsoft Teams. So lots and lots of collaboration. Another key theme has been creativity. If you haven't already seen this video, it's just one of a number of resources that have been created by people across the sector and one of a number of songs, but let me just play you the first 50 seconds or so of this.
Could never teach through Canvas all the time, but then I spent so many nights reading the help docs for so long, and I grew strong. I learned how to get along, and so I'm back. The students are gone, as all my colleagues try to figure out how they're gonna get along. I should have kept up with the tech, not skipped that class on course design. If I'd have known for just 1 second, I'd be teaching all online. Go now, go, leave me alone. I've got to figure out just how to lecture using Panopto. You gave me 2 days to adjust, to move everything online. Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down and die? Oh, no.
So sorry to stop that, but there's another almost 2 minutes to go if you want to watch this later on. I think though, for all of this, one of the things that we absolutely have to remember at the core of this is our community of educators and learners, and just how important communication with and between students actually is. The more virtually they are, the more distributed they are across the world. A number of them at the moment in these present circumstances are very anxious and very stressed, and so all the more reason for us to try and make sure that we keep in contact with them. But even if that weren't the circumstances, it's important. It's not all about the technology. The technology is amazing. I mean, where would we be if it weren't for that technology right now? It's astonishing what we're able to do as a higher education community. But we really have to not lose sight of the fact that even when the tech doesn't work, even when we've never prepared our teaching like this before, keeping that relationship between academic colleagues and between students and colleagues is really, really important. And actually it creates a hugely important future practice for us in terms of collaborative learning. And that's something I want to just turn to now as I come towards the end of this introduction. I'm going to start with a physical building, ironic given this has really been a discussion about technology and online to some extent, but there's a really important opportunity for us here to build on the future. We've built on what we're doing now for the future. We've spoken a lot at the University of Glasgow about blended learning, and many of you are aware of the work that we've been doing in recent years to create learning environments that encourage more active learning experiences. So I'm concluding here with an image of the James Fischbacher-Smith Learning Hub. Those of you who have attended previous conferences over the years will have heard the story of this emerging. It's a huge physical investment, but it's been built on the premise of collaborative or active learning, and that draws on all of the potential that technology has to offer. So one of the challenges for some of our staff with our physical teaching spaces lately has been the integration of more technology-enabled approaches. Sometimes that's simply been because the room is just not designed to support that. But even for the rooms that we have designed that are new and that allow that technology to be embedded, blending the face-to-face with the technology to underpin meaningful and in-depth collaborative learning experience for students has really still been a challenge for people. But it seems to me that whatever happens as a consequence of coronavirus and the situation that we are currently in, that one thing is for sure, and that is that we will arrive much more rapidly at our goal of a blended educational experience as a result of the changes associated with coronavirus. And that will genuinely be the transformation that we are ready to embrace. Everything on the programme for today's conference has something to say about these themes. So whilst the event may differ hugely from our usual experience, I expect too that future conferences might also look a little bit different as we apply what we are learning from transforming our teaching to also transforming more broadly how we work and how we share our teaching and learning experiences in the future. So on that note, let me close by thanking the team in Leeds, our Learning Enhancement and Academic Development Service, and within that, Scott Ramsey in particular, for adapting this conference, our annual conference, to work as an online experience for today. And let me also say thank you very much to those of you who are participating online and those of you by presenting and those of you who are also attending online. I hope that you enjoy the event. I hope you get some really good practice and experience of taking part in an online conference, and that helps you in itself in thinking about what the future of online learning might mean for you and for your students. Thank you very much.